And welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I'm your host, WICE, and I'm excited. My next guest, I'm interested in what she has to talk about because me being a podcaster, affiliate marketing is something that I would love to learn about a little bit more. So I'm excited to bring on the show. So let's just bring on Tina Lopez.
Hi.
Whoa, hi. How are
Happy to
you
be here.
today?
Good. It's a nice weather in Chicago. Haven't gone outside yet, but I need to.
I just came inside. It's about almost 80 degrees here, so it's nice up here in the mountains.
Oh, I wish I was in the mountains. I just live in the city, so we don't get mountains. Pretty
I
flat
was
land.
I'm a city boy. I was born in Brooklyn and raised in New York City, but I've been in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania for the last let's see, 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was actually in New York last weekend. So I visited your hometown, Brooklyn. I went there, so it was nice.
Uh, all right, all right. So what inspired you to do the transition from online coaching to content creating, but you're still doing coaching in a way as well?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to give you like somewhat of the rough story here. So I actually came from the coaching space. And so it's interesting. Most content creators nowadays, they usually transition into coaching, but I did the complete
Yes.
opposite, right? And so when it comes to coaching, like it was great. I got really great clients. I was able to get them results, get them their first clients, their first $10,000. It was just such a great experience in terms of being able to help the clients from a business level. But I got super burned out. I think the one thing that they don't talk a lot about in the coaching space is burnout from the perspective of like, you know, if you are a one person team or even if you have a team, like it can still be somewhat overwhelming in the sense of you have to do the sales calls, you have to do the coaching calls, you actually have to do the marketing and actually posting and all those things. And I just kind of realized, it was actually ironic when I had my largest income month in my business. I actually that was within that time frame is actually when I burnt out in the business. And it's interesting because when I made the most amount of money, I thought to myself, "Oh, okay, like I should just do more of this." And I didn't credit the reason why I made more money was actually because I work less. And for some reason, I got it in my mind that in order to make more money, I need to work more. That's kind of like, growing up, this is what they teach you, work harder.
Mhm.
And, I did that, and then I ended up having, like, 20 plus sales calls, and every single one of them had said no, and I was like, "What? Like, that doesn't make sense. I know how to close sales. I've closed multiple six figures in sales, like, I know what this looks like." And I realized after speaking with a coach at the time, and she was like, "Well, do you think maybe you're burnt out?" And I was like, "What is that?" Like, I didn't even know what that was. And after she explained it to me, I was like, I think, is that what I'm experiencing? Like, I didn't even know that that was a term, right? And I kind of realized I was like, "Oh shit, like I am like really burnt out." And I decided to take a mental health sabbatical for 4 months, finish the contracts that I have with my clients, but I didn't accept any new clients at that time. And it was a journey. It was a journey of healing, a journey of self-care, a journey of realizing what is it that I want. And when I came back in the business, I kind of thought to myself, like, I want to come back, but I don't want to do the same thing anymore. And so that's when I realized, like, what are my values in terms of what is it that I want the business to look like. And what that looks like for me is daily passive income versus client cash injections, right? Like, I don't want to make money if I sign a client. I want to make money every single day, whether I'm a lot like awake, sleeping, all those things, right?
Yeah.
The second thing was I didn't want to have a huge team. Like I did come from the background of like managing team members, and it's great, but like I don't want to be a manager. I'm totally okay with just having me and my current like one virtual assistant. She helps me. But that leads me to my third thing of like it needs to be completely automated. I don't want to be a bottleneck in my business. I want to be able to take a month off from my business and still be able to make money. And I did that last year. I did a whole month long trip in Asia. And to my surprise, like I barely checked in, not even at all. I was spending time with my family and we made the most amount of money that entire month. And I literally did nothing. And that was a true like icing on the cake of like, wow, I actually did that.
Awesome, awesome. Because you're right. Because even with me being doing the podcast and everything, and and I've wanted to go into coaching and stuff like that, but I don't I don't think I really want to. It's a lot of time and energy, and
Mhm.
what I'm trying to figure out now is what you're doing, less time working and having income and more time being able to spend with my family.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that's the goal, right? And it's interesting because a lot of creators or big gurus, they'll tell you or they'll like romanticize their level of freedom or whatever. And I'll ask them like, show me your calendar. Show me your overhead expenses. Like, do you truly like walk the talk? Right? Because majority of the time, these big gurus, when they say, "Oh, I have a completely automated business," like when you look at their calendar, it's a lot of probably team calls or team management. And, labor is the highest expense in any business. And like, I just don't want that, right? Like, I want an automated business, but I don't want to have the team to do all the work. I come from a tech background. And so I leverage no code automations, those things to really run the business day to day. But it's also like automations are so much cheaper than like hiring labor, right? And so I think it's from this perspective of like, when I actually started this business and I had those three non-negotiables, like it's hard. Like it's really hard to find people who are actually doing it, who are actually walking the talk. And I'll be honest, it took me 3+ years to get to this like this space where I'm actually telling people that I actually have this, because now I actually feel confident that it can be done because I've done it. But if you look through anyone else in the space, they say, oh, you can have all those things, but it's going to cost you a shit ton of overhead or it's going to cost you a ton of your time. And I don't want any of those things. So it is possible, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. So can you explain the concept of content automation and how
Yeah.
it benefits content creators?
Yeah. So this really came from my second experience of burnout. So the first one, like I mentioned earlier, was from coaching tons of sales calls. The second one is, within my first year of content creation and going into that space, it's kind of like the internet has a way of humbling you, right? And so when you're starting from zero, like every creator starts from zero. Like I started from zero. Your big guru started from zero, right? And so in order for you to build up an audience, you usually listen to traditional advice of like post every day, do all the things. And I did that. I did a lot of that, right? I posted, tons of blog articles. I wrote it to like TikTok or created video content for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all these different types of things. And then it just got to a point where it was like super overwhelming, where it's like, why am I doing all this? Like, I'm doing this like to grow those social media following, but what was the purpose behind growing a social media following? And I've realized most creators don't really think beyond, oh, I just need to post social media. They just think like, I need to post on social media and then magically someday you'll go viral. And I did go viral once and you'll make a ton of money. And the interesting thing is like virality is not a strategy. And a lot of people will tell you like, oh, you need to do XYZ in order to go viral. But in my opinion, I think virality is unsustainable and it's not really the best position from a business perspective. And so I kind of need to realize like how can I, get my time back as a creator? Because I'll be honest, like the money that I make for my business doesn't really come from content creation for in the sense of posting on social media and things like that. Like my time is honestly better focused on creating either digital products or, implementing like funnels on the back end, writing email sequences, not posting on social media. So my question is like, how do you automate your content repurposing so that you can get time back in your business to focus on the areas that actually grow the business, right? And so for me, I kind of like laid out in like 3 steps, right? So the biggest thing that will take the most amount of time in your content business is the actual content itself.
Mhm.
And instead of writing every day, posting every day, things like that, um, you know, I created something like an automation. We do sell it. It's our daily content generator. It's literally $9. And I'll give you a reason why we did that. But basically, what this daily content generator does is because I have an automation background, I created this template, this workflow where I have this whole like 2 years worth of content library, right? Tons of creators have content. It's a damn shame that it goes stale and people can't see it anymore, right? And so what this automation does is it automatically takes a random piece of content within the library, repurposes it to 5+ social media platforms every single day without the creator lifting a finger. And so that was the first thing that I did in terms of like taking off my plate is I need to automate my content repurposing, because what led to burnout from a creative perspective is you're literally trying to go on every single platform and you're getting minimal results at best. And it's probably sloppy results, to be honest, because you're so exhausted, right? And so what that content repurposing automation allows me to do is it allows me to be on social media every single day without actually me being on social media. So what am I doing? I'm creating content for the social media algorithm. I'm still getting traffic to my content pieces, and I'm still growing my audience even though I'm not on social media, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you think about a business, like you have really three areas of you have like traffic, you have nurturing, and then you have conversions. The nurturing piece for me, when I think about automation, it really comes down to emailing, right? So like email marketing, people will tell you day in, day out, like, oh, email marketing is dead. Like, I honestly highly disagree that email marketing is dead. And the reason why I say that is because majority of my sales come through email marketing. And the better part of email marketing over social media is that you can automate your selling, you can automate your promotion, you can automate your nurturing, right? Like if I, created an email sequence, ran it for an entire year, I can see that people have gone out of their way to purchase my digital products, my affiliate products through my emails, right? And it only took me maybe an hour to write that email sequence, but it was an hour well spent. Put it all together, that's the second automation of email marketing, right? The third automation, when we talk about, the third step of conversions, is really taking advantage and maximizing your order value, right? For me, I make my money through digital products. Even if you're a coach, you can leverage this. But like if a person checks out and like buys one of your products, like take advantage of that opportunity, leverage upsells, leverage downsells, leverage order bumps, all those types of things where you can take advantage of the sale to make more money in less time and automate the entire thing. So that is pretty much like when I say automation, I mean like the whole A to Z concept is really important.
Okay. What are some of the common misconceptions about generating passive income online?
I think the biggest one is that it's not passive. Like the first, I think the better term is leveraged content or leveraged income, right? And so when I say leverage, is that you're getting more than what you put in, right? And so passive income always requires an upfront cost of time, right? Like you need to build the email sequence, you need to build the funnels, all those things. And so you're taking the time to build an asset. Like that's what an asset is. Like an asset is something that gives you, dividends or lifetime returns, right? And so if you take the time to build it, then it will become passive where it doesn't require as much of your time. A perfect example that I can give is with affiliate marketing, right? I write content on an affiliate product. It took me maybe an hour, 2 hours to write all those content pieces. But a year later, I'm still generating affiliate commissions off of something that I wrote a year ago, right? That was leveraging my time. So now it is passive for me. Now it is a sustainable like resource or source of income that I can have in my business, right? And so that's one misconception. The other misconception that I have that people have is like you can set it and forget it to an extent, right? Like, things change. It's always important to optimize. Like, for example, right now, like a project I'm working on is optimizing my email flows, my email automations, so that I can bring in more conversions, bring in more sales into my business, right? But like, in order for you to optimize, you do need to somewhat set it and forget it so you can look at the data. You can see what's working and what's not working in your business. So I would say those are the two common misconceptions.
So how did you develop your first? How did you develop your strategy for creating evergreen traffic?
So for me, evergreen traffic comes from a couple different areas, right? So like I leverage search. And so people like would also say blogging is dead. I don't think it's dead. However, I will say you don't necessarily need a website to do a blog. Like I personally write on Medium, for example, which is kind of like a blogging social media hybrid where you can leverage search by being like having your own blog on the platform, but you can also leverage a social media because they have their own internal audience that you can drive traffic to, right? And so when I say evergreen traffic, there's kind of like two layers of that, right? Like again, I'm leveraging search from Google, from YouTube, all these different platforms and or search-based platforms. And then I'm also leveraging algorithmic traffic in the sense of because Medium has this internal social media audience at play, or even YouTube has its own internal social media audience at play, like my articles can pick up at any point in time. But I'm leveraging the best of both worlds of social media plus search in one. So if I were to start over from the very beginning, I would tell people like leverage YouTube, leverage Medium, leverage Pinterest. Any platform that has a search functionality to it will truly serve you in the long term.
Okay, awesome. Because I just started within the last year. I added a blog to my podcast, and it was okay. So within the last year and a half, 2 years, I've um I've been introduced to tools like Cast Magic. Um, there's other tools that I use that they create blogs. I upload my MP3 into the system into Cast Magic, and they'll create a blog for me. And then they'll also create email, also create emails, threads, all these different things that I would spend hours on trying to create, and now it's after 5 minutes it's done.
Absolutely. Like I think the biggest thing that you're mentioning as well is that you're choosing platforms that give you the highest return on time. And like I think that's also another like thing that creators don't take advantage of is like their time. And so I think the reason why, I think about, leveraging like these search platforms or leveraging automations is because time is the one asset you can never get back. Spend I rather focus on something that gives me more time or buy something that gives me more time. And if it costs more money, I'm okay with that, right? Because money you can make again. If you're truly from the perspective of an abundant mindset, you will know that money will come back to you, right? But time is one of those things that
Don't
won't
get
come
back.
back to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Fran was a guest last week. She said good info. Use any platform for search functionality to search optimization for search optimization.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thank you, Fran.
highest return on time. She says that she likes that.
Thanks.
All right. So what are the biggest challenges content creators face when they're trying to scale their content?
I think that really comes down to a couple things. When I think about the biggest challenges that they have, there's this very real truth of like you're probably really freaking burnt out. Like seriously, like you can't scale your content business if you're burnt out. And that's why I created the daily content generator at $9. And this is not trying to be salesy whatsoever. It's just like I truly created it because I'm so sick and tired of creators being burnt out in the industry. And when you listen to bigger creators, right, like traditional gurus, they'll tell you like, oh, sorry you're burnt out. Essentially the consensus is sorry you're burnt out. Doesn't matter, still post, still be consistent. And I think the thing is like that's bullshit, right? Like consistency, in my opinion, can be automated, right? You can leverage automations for consistency, but you cannot leverage automations for creativity, right? Where you make money as a creator is from your creativity. You cannot do that on an empty tank of being burnt out, right? So the first challenge I would say is create some system, whether it's a content system or some workflow that actually benefits you. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people will say just write every single day or like go at the whim of your creativity. But in my opinion, that's not sustainable and it's not scalable, right? When I think about a writing system, I'm thinking about, leveraging two things. my creativity comes literally at the whim every. I could like be working out and an idea will come in my head. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit down, pull out a notebook and write an article, right? I have an idea management system where I will upload that idea into a database. And then once a month, I will go review my content ideas and pick which one I like, outline them, have a day for outlining, have a day for content creation. And then what ends up happening is I will create the foundational content and I'll leverage automations to do the posting, social media, everything for me to take advantage of my time. The second challenge that I see a lot with creators as well is that there there's this big thing where it's almost like you wait to be monetized. Like you have to reach a certain follower count or a certain threshold in order for you to ask for money. And I think that is not sound advice in my opinion, because at the end of the day, like you are running a business, and I say like sell from the beginning, right? Like if you truly are solving a problem, then sell the solution. You don't need to wait and for you to have 10,000 followers in order for you to sell something to actually solves your client's problem, right? And it doesn't need to be this big whole thing. Like it could just be like a checklist, right? I recently just purchased an interior design checklist because I'm renovating my house right now. And thank God that person created that. It was $25. I bought it. It was great, right? And so that's my example. Sell early and sell fast.
So remember you said you had a question. Remember one of your questions earlier before we got on was, do they ask questions?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we do have one for you.
Okay, great.
What do you suggest for virtual assistant or an AI option to maximize time?
Cool. Okay. So my first thing is that leverage AI and automations. You don't need to leverage a virtual assistant yet. Actually, as an example, it took me 3 years before I decided to hire a virtual assistant. I hired her last month. It's been great. But you can automate 80% of your business truthfully with no code and AI. Let me kind of dive deeper. When I think about no code, I'm thinking about platforms like Zapier, Make, Pabbly Connect. If you're not familiar with these platforms, these are basically like, think of these as workflow platforms that connect different softwares to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So an example is if I create content off of my database in Notion or Airtable, for example, I can use Zapier to take that to connect Notion or Airtable to post to Instagram or Facebook. And so when you leverage those platforms, you can probably get 80% of your business automated truthfully just off of no code. And because we've integrated AI into the mix, there is this, I love Zapier, for example. So there is something called OpenAI, which is the owner of ChatGPT.
Yep.
And basically, they have an integration or they have a connection with Zapier where, say, for example, Cast Magic, right? They use AI, but I kind of see it as like, well, why would I use AI when I can use Zapier and OpenAI? It's cheaper, in my opinion. It just is a side tangent thing. But what you can do is I can take, let me finish. I can take a podcast recording, take that podcast recording, send it from Zapier, send it to OpenAI to create the transcript, have OpenAI take that transcript, create a blog thread, create a Twitter thread, create a social media post, and then in that same automation, I can have it post directly to social media for me. That's going to take 80% of the automation just because you're using no code. So
it's reason I use Cast Magic. Like, I love AppSumo.
Yes.
I love AppSumo. I have so many different stuff from I use SendFox, so many different things from AppSumo. And so I make sure I buy the lifetime licenses. Like, people don't understand that some of these programs that people are paying $34 a month for now, I got a lifetime license.
Me too.
So okay, so Fran goes idea management system, like having a digital idea bucket.
Yeah. An example of that is I do have this freebie and I do find it very valuable. It's exactly what I use. We have our content database, which is basically an Airtable. So I see that you're familiar with Airtable already. So basically, this is a base, meaning a database, where basically if you are someone who wants to organize and structure your content, I usually give people this freebie, which is the content database. And essentially what it does is it does a couple things. It works really well with our daily content generator if you decide to get it layered down their own, but it also allows you to organize your content. And what I really love about Airtable is it has a mobile app. Like literally, like if I have an idea come to me, I pull out my Airtable database and I just type the idea. And then once when I'm ready, I can log on my laptop and I can look at all my ideas that I wrote on the app, and I could just outline my content, write my content, and Airtable integrates perfectly with Zapier, so I can trigger a bunch of automations through my Airtable base. So, yes, it's like a bucket.
She goes, Airtable. I'm familiar with that.
Absolutely.
All right. So how do you approach affiliate marketing to maximize leverage income, not passive leverage income?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things. Like a lot of people say, it's funny. I was actually writing an email sequence because I do affiliate marketing and have a course on affiliate marketing. But one of the things that I've realized with affiliate marketing, because I scroll through Reddit all the time, is that people think that you need a large audience, you need a big social media following, and you need a website. To be honest, when I made money from affiliate marketing, I didn't have any of those things. I leveraged 3 things to really be able to make money through affiliate marketing. The first thing is parasite SEO, right? And so that's what we were mentioning earlier about leveraging platforms that have search functionality. The best platforms that have that is Medium and YouTube, right? If I looked up, like I'm an affiliate for specific products, if I typed in like the product on Google, my Medium articles will pop up like literally within the first page because I'm leveraging parasite SEO. And basically parasite SEO is a strategy where you are able to take advantage of another person, like of a platform, to help you boost in search versus if you were to create your own WordPress site, right? Now there's advantages and disadvantages of this, but if you're looking at like the short term and even long term, right? Like so long as you do good things on the platform and you don't abuse it, you should be good in terms of leveraging those platforms for search functionality, right? Now, when we think about passive income, it really comes down to creating content that is evergreen. And when I mean evergreen, meaning it's applicable like year round. So examples of things that are not evergreen is like trends or like quarterly reports or anything that is just like has a time base, like that's not evergreen. And so when I say evergreen content, what really is evergreen content is problems, pain points, things like that. Things that people have challenges with every day. And if you can create content that solves that problem, then it doesn't matter what time period, it's still going to be helpful. So, for example, I am an affiliate for these 2 courses. And a lot of the questions that I had, even when I bought the course, was like, what is the difference between the 2? And I created a YouTube video, I created a blog article explaining those differences, and I solved my audience's problem. And it got to a point where people like said, thank you so much for giving that feedback. I went out of my way to purchase from your affiliate link, right? And so there's this element of you need to remember that in order for you to leverage affiliate marketing, who is your end customer? Your end customer is the buyer. So if you make it easier for your content to help them make a decision, doesn't mean they buy or don't buy. At least they come to a decision. You're coming and operating out of service to help them make that decision. And when I say passive income, it's passive income because I solve problems. That is truthfully what makes it passive is I created content that solved problems at that time.
So Fran goes parasite SEO question mark. So what is parasite SEO?
So basically, like what I mentioned earlier, it's like leveraging search-based platforms that allow you to rank easier. So for example, Medium, like I mentioned, it's a platform that has both blogging component and social media component. Like medium.com has high authority, meaning it's Google's already established that this is a legitimate domain and that it works well, things like that. So it's easier for that domain or any articles that go on that domain to rank on Google faster than if you had your own blog that is like you just started last week. Google hasn't checked to see if it's a good blog or whatever. Parasite SEO lets you to take advantage of those platforms that have good authority for them to be ranked on Google.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. What tips do you have for content creators struggling to manage multiple platforms?
My biggest tip is let automation handle the multiple platforms. Like seriously, like I I don't even think about content from like a platform perspective. Like for me, I love writing. So my biggest social media following is through Medium. So I write a ton of long form content when it comes to blog articles, right? But I leverage our daily content generator. I leverage automations to repurpose to Twitter, to YouTube, to Instagram, to Facebook, all those things. So I'm live on those channels, but I don't sit down to create content for all those channels. I only created content once and I let the automations do the rest of me.
Okay. Can you share an example of a successful content automation strategy you have implemented?
I mean, I'll give you the insight of the daily content generator. Like seriously, I think it's good to walk through the background of it actually. Yeah. So it is a course. It is $9 and there's a reason for that. I mentioned earlier my biggest thing is solving for context, I have like 2 goals in life. The first one is to help entrepreneurs create generational wealth. The second goal is to help the creators have the time to enjoy that wealth, right? And so when I created the daily content generator truly out of necessity. Like I was burnt out from content creation and I was like, screw this, I can't do this anymore, right? And so I created it for me. Like I didn't want anybody to use it. Like it was just truly for me. And a lot of my friends in the creator industry, they kept saying, they're like, Tina, like, how the hell do you do it? Like, you're posting on social, you're posting on Twitter, Facebook, all these different platforms. Like, how do you have the time to write and repurpose? And I always said to them, like, oh, I just let automation do it or whatever. Or sometimes I just brushed over, right? And it got to a point where a lot of my like internal friend group, they kept saying, like, Tina, can you please like just give it to us? Can you please just let us use what you want to use? And there was a very big mindset block for me where I said no, because not because of scarcity, not because I didn't want to give it to them, but because I was scared that, people will not know how to use the technology, or I was scared that I didn't know how to explain it in a way that makes sense. Like I can be somewhat very technical, but if I, ask the average Joe to implement this, how would I explain it to them,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And so I was afraid that I couldn't do that. And it got to a point where one of my friends, she came to me and she was like, I'm so burned out. Like, can you like please like actually like help me? And I am not the type of person where, like, if I see someone down, like, I'm not gonna say, like, no, I can't help you. Like, I'm the person where I was like, okay, like, it's not about me. Like, and I think that's where it comes from. Like, it's truly is not about me. It's about like solving the problem and like helping my friend, like people like my friend who are struggling, be able to get time back. And so I decided to do it. And I was like, $9, no brainer. We'll see what happens. And I am a big believer in like pre-selling, meaning that I will not create something if people don't buy it. Right. And I was like, okay, let me just create it. I literally sent an email, I think like on a Friday night. I was like, hey, I have this idea. This is what you're going to get. I haven't created this yet. I really want to create it though, because it solves this problem. Are you interested? And my goal was 10 pre-sales, and it's like $90, right? It's not life-changing money, but it's like pretty cool. Like I was just like, I just wanted to validate the idea. And I usually give my pre-sale period about a 2-month time frame just to see if it's actually something people want. And within that weekend, we got 10 sales. And I was like, oh shit, okay. Like people want it. And I was like, this is an accident. Let me try to like shoot for 20 in my mind. This is internally, right? A week later, 20 sales came through. And I was like, oh fuck. Like people really want this. And then I didn't even make the 2-month time period, because by the time like we were like 3 weeks into it, like over 40 people have bought the pre-sale. And I was like, oh shit, like people really want this. Like now I need to figure out this question of how I'm going to speak to the average Joe and explain how I'm going to do this. Now this is a good problem to have, but at least I know that I'm creating something that people want. And so it took me about a month to create the course, to like really like break it down. I literally like filmed every single thing I possibly could. I even filmed like, we're gonna do it together, like start from scratch, like we're gonna do this video together. It's like a 30-minute video. And yeah, like over 130 plus students have now since bought that course, and people are buying it still every day. And it just really validated, like, wow, this truly solves a problem. Like, it solves the problem of creator burnout. Because, as an example, I had a writer who came to me who wrote me this beautiful testimonial. And she's like, Tina, like, I'm so happy that you created this, because it does two things for her. First of all, she doesn't have to hire a virtual assistant or a content team to actually repurpose her content. So it saves her probably like $2,000 a month in content creation services. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it gives her so much of her time back, right? And she said to me, she's like, thank God we implemented this, because now I can actually have time. She travels the world or whatever. And she's like, now I can travel the world and not have to worry about like posting to some social media platform. And like, the fact that she's like, the fact that it was $9 was kind of crazy to me. And I was like, I know it is crazy, but it's not about the money for me. Truthfully, like, money's great. I love money, but like, it's really like solving the problem of like creator burnt out, because I can't see my friends burnt out and I will not allow it. So this is my happy medium.
Oh, listen, you found a service you can provide and a solution, and like you said, yes, money's a necessity, but like you said, it's not the end all be for you. It's making sure not to see your friends burn out, not see the ones you care for burn out and waste and be able to get their time back, something that's very precious. So it's not always about the money. It's
Mhm.
about how you feel about yourself, and you're like, I don't care about the money. I care about people, and that should be
Yeah,
the number one priority. That should be anyone's priority, is caring about the people. And when you do care about the people, it resonates. So you're gonna the $9. It's just gonna keep growing. You're gonna keep getting more sales and more sales and more. It, it's it's gonna be worth it at the end of the day, because you care about the people.
absolutely. I think that's also another thing, is that it's people first. Like, I'm reading, or I just finished this book. It's a great book. It's called Millionaire Fastlane. Highly recommend it. But if you want to make $1 million, the better question is not how do I make $1 million? The question is, how do I serve a million people? And if you can answer that question and solve that problem, it's natural that that's going to be the outcome.
Yeah, because if you serve a million people, right, at $1 each, that's $1 million.
Yeah. And imagine $9, you know?
That's $9 million.
There you go.
Hey, so, all right. How do you stay motivated and consistent in your content creation process?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I don't have the problem of consistency, because I let the automations take care of it. The challenge that I have is actually realizing that the business is not everything to me. And so that's really hard, right? Because people, especially big gurus, they say you got to invest thousands of hours in your business. And I think to an extent, like, I've come from that perspective. I used to do all those things and it hasn't served me. I think the challenge that I have now is, what the hell do I do with my time, right? Because everybody wants automation. Everybody wants more time in their business, right? Or more time for life, sorry. And nobody thinks about what happens after you get all those things. They're always like chasing the goal. It's always like this like carrot that you're trying to chase, but you never realize what happens afterwards. And so for me, it's like, okay, like, I need to take this business like outside of myself. Like, who am I outside of my business? I'm a daughter, I'm a homeowner, I am a partner to someone, like, I'm a sister. Like, how can I really show up for those people in my life? Because now I have the time to actually show up for those people, right? And so when it comes to staying motivated, it's not just like the money piece. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I love money. I came from a finance background. It's truly like, how can I serve people in the fastest way possible without it requiring tons of my time? And so this is why I love like digital products, affiliate marketing, courses, membership, things like that, because I'm able to help people, but I am not sacrificing my soul or sacrificing my mental sanity to help them. Like, I am able to still show up, provide value, teach things. I'm a big teacher. Like, I love teaching and like letting it go. But like, I'm allowed to teach people, but still get my time for me, so I can actually have the tank to show up for all those individuals.
Awesome. Okay. What? Let's see. We answered that one. Okay. So how do you measure the success of your content and adjust your strategies accordingly?
Success of my content and adjust the strategies accordingly. Okay, so that's actually a question that I'm actually trying to figure out right now. And so I can't say I have the full answer to it, right? I think that the thing is like, how do I determine success? For me, I determine success as like dollars. Some people determine success as like, having, followers. It really comes down to what is your metrics for success, right? Some people, think one way or the other. For me, I always like to think about if I implement a content strategy, right? Or if I implement this, how many leads did I get in? And when I say leads, I'm not saying followers. I'm saying email subscribers. And when I think about the success of content, I'm thinking about how many dollars did it drive to like my bottom line, right? And so the way that I measure it is like thinking through that. An example of that actually is and it's ironic, but podcasting, right? I have a goal of 30 podcasts for this year. Met my
Yes.
goal, I'm done, right? One of the things that I'm trying to see is, does podcasting bring more leads into my business? I don't know that answer yet, but so far it's the lowest return in terms of subscribers, but I love building the brand element. But if my goal were to build like a brand, I would go podcasting all the way. But if my goal is to drive subscribers, maybe that's not the best toolkit that I would use, right? And so I really like to give it a time period of like, what am I looking at? I look at my data quarterly. And when I look at my data quarterly, I pivot, right? So this past quarterly, I looked at my podcasting and like see the strategy. It's not where I want to be in terms of like the leads and subscribers. I've learned my lesson. Now I'm pivoting to a different strategy so I can do that. And so like leveraging data. I think so many creators, they just like to create and post, but they never take the time to reflect and look at the data to see if it actually hit the success metrics that you're looking at.
Well, you've gotten a client. It looks like you got someone in France. She's asking, what's the difference between your $90 package versus your $9 a month package?
So I don't have I have a $97 course. I don't have any recurring offers at the moment. That's something that I'm trying to figure out what to create right now, doing some market research at the moment. But I think when it comes to differences between like $9 product versus a $90 product, it really comes down to value, right? Like usually as you get higher in the price points, there is some level of like either one-on-one or community or things like that. So it really comes down to value and giving that, right? Another thing that I would say is that for the $9 daily content generator, it has an insane amount of value. Like time is the insane amount of value, and people get so much more time back. But the thing is that you can leverage pricing to do a couple of things. Pricing is not only like a reflection of value, but it can also be used as a way for you to generate leads in your business. So for example, like I have the $9, daily content generator. It really like insane value. It drives a ton of like sales and things like that. But it also validates for me and allows me to segment who are the people that I'm going to promote to more versus the people that I'm not going to promote to more, right? Because a buyer emotion stays in motion, right? So if you are able to segment in the quickest way possible paid versus non-paid from your email list, then you can see and identify how many people in your email list take action versus don't take action. And so that is another benefit that I've realized since releasing that $9 offer. But pricing is in some ways a reflection of value. So the higher the pricing, the more value.
Yeah. And people tend to really invest more time when they are paying for a product.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm taking a course now that I'm paying some good money into it, and but it's to make sure that you're gonna spend time. You're not wasting that person's time, and you're
Mhm.
not wasting your time, because
Mhm.
people tend to do when it's free. They tend to like, oh, they'll do it a couple of days and then they disappear. And
Mhm.
so when you're able to invest your money and see where it's going, and see that it's has value, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good example of that is there's this membership that I recently joined that on the front end I saw that it was $197 a month and I was like, holy shit, like that is a membership.
Yeah.
Um and then I was like, let me just buy one of her digital products. And I bought one of her digital products and then she had an upsell where you can get 3 months for $197. And I was like, well, because I had the context that it's actually $197 a month and I get 3 months now for $197, I immediately bought it because I knew that it was beneficial and because to me, like I see it as like to some it's not a lot of money to me. I was like, "Ooh, I really want to like get this." And I see the value in this. I'm every day looking in that course, doing the work, and now I'm seeing the results because price is an indicator, like you said, of like how much effort you put into the product as well.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone just starting their content creation journey?
The advice that I would give is sell early and sell often. And one thing I would say is don't focus on your social media following, focus on your email list. Like truthfully, like it's great to have 10,000 followers. It's also great to have 10,000 email subscribers that pay you money, right? And so those two things, like I wish somebody would have told me like email list is so much more important than social media following. It would save me so much hours of content creation. And so those
Mhm.
are the two things I would really focus on.
That's something that I've learned, and when I first started was, oh, I got to build up my funnel, and 2 years later, I'm like, I need to build up my email list.
Mhm.
I need to
Mhm.
build. I need to work on that and build that up. And it's a friend of mine, Phil Better, who he's the one who actually got me into building an email list, into using SendFax and different other automation tools to help me, to help life, make things easier for me, being that
Mhm.
I'm an independent podcaster, that I don't have a team. It's
Mhm.
just me. So with him showing me these tools to make life easier for me, which it has, it has helped me grow my podcast in these past 2 years from, I don't know, 8,000 downloads in my first year and a half, 2 years, to now I just eclipsed 30,000 downloads.
Congrats.
And so it's really, you see the effort that I put into it is paying off. And so, and it again, it goes back into me learning about automation, and learning about building an email list. And I'm getting response from email lists and people wanting to ask the questions. And so it's really helped me in the last 2 years really grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, right? Like if you find something that's working, I'm a big believer in automating what's working, set it and forget it so that you can focus on the next strategy that's going to help you and then you just stack up what's working and that will help you in the long term.
So how do you keep up with trends and changes? I'm sorry. How do you keep up with trends and changes in the digital marketing landscape?
I don't really keep on touch with like trends to be honest because it's like yeah, it's great. I could do a trend and I could do a video on like the trend and give my commentary, right?
Yeah.
But like that's not the type of business that I want to run. Like I don't want to run a business that's based on trends. Like I want to run a business that is based on like legitimate strategy and actually solving problems, right? Like I another layer is like I love building an automated content business, but the other aspect of it is like how do you build a content business that doesn't rely on social media? That's the big question, right? Because when you think about social media is very risky to put your traffic efforts to grow your email list like or to generate sales. Like it is a risky business in my opinion. And I'll give you an example as like a couple days ago, one of my accounts for some reason got flagged for some unknown reason, and I had to reach out to support, and they said, "Oh, it was an accident." I'm sorry. What do you mean it was an accident? Like, I spent 3 years on the social media platform. You're gonna tell me it's an accident? No, that doesn't fly, right? And so it's really validated the importance of having my own audience, which is my email list. And
Mhm.
although it was like scary, like because this happened to me last year ago, I feel like it's like a recurring theme of like have your own audience. But this happened last year to me as well. Like my account got flagged, and it was an accident as well. And last year was a very different predicament. I had no email list. I had nothing. And now I was like, well, you know, that sucks that my account got flagged by accident. But if things did go hit the fan, like I won't my business won't die. Like I have an email list. I have a way to contact my people.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. And so like if I relied on trends, if I relied on virality, that's not good enough for me in terms of strategy. Like I genuinely care, like if shit hits the fan, what are you going to do to build your business? That is the question that most creators, most big gurus will not answer you, because they haven't had the time to think about that, or it hasn't happened to them. But for small creators like myself and other people, if you don't have the capacity to answer, or to capacity to build up a social media following in the quickest way possible, then you need to figure out a different way to grow your business without relying on social media.
Awesome. All right. So this time is wow. Time has listen. This conversation has been amazing because time has just flown by. um, and, so one final question before I let you get the solo screen and you get to plug away and promote everything. What what do you see is the future of the content creation industry, and how are you preparing for it?
The future that I see is actually two things. I see an owned audience is going to be way more valuable than social media. I feel like I'm seeing like this trend of like people are leaving social media because it's exhausting and people are burnt out. And now they're really thinking about like how do I grow my own audience so that they don't have to post, right? That is one thing I'm seeing. Another thing that I'm seeing is community has become increasingly more important. So the platforms that are really going to do well, in my opinion, is Reddit as an example, or any like school as another example of like community based platforms, is because as you can consume information, you could pretty much find everything on YouTube nowadays, right? And so courses are going to be great, but they're what's going to be even better is if you have a course plus community, right? And so for me, how I'm preparing for it is, first thing, I'm building my email list. All my channels are going to my email list or trafficking into my email list. If they don't, then like that's a bigger problem, right? The second thing is, when I think about community, I'm thinking about, kind of right now I'm in the process of figuring out like what is a recurring offer that I can create that allows me to dive deeper with my clients or with my students without having like a ton of time like being involved. And so I would like to do a community, but I am hesitant to do it because, one of my things is I want to be able to take a month off my business, and communities can be quite difficult, right? And so I don't have a clear answer to that, but I am thinking about ways where I'm able to provide the benefits of a community in terms of an asynchronous channel, being able to answer questions in a timely manner. Maybe it's a community, maybe it's not a community for me, but having connection to the creator who created the course, I think is the bigger trend I'm seeing. Like it's easy to sell a course, but to ask questions, people use a community. For me, I might use something else that caters to that.
Fran would like to know what's an owned audience.
An owned audience is an example of, like I mentioned, an email list, meaning that you own the actual audience. So, for example, like if you look at Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, that's rented audience, right? Meaning that like you're borrowing the audience, but ultimately the people that can contact them is Facebook and those platforms, not you, the creator, right? And so if you can contact your people without using a third party, that is you having an own audience. It can be in the form of an email list, it can be in the form of a text message list, things like that.
And she goes, I go to Reddit when I don't feel like dealing with the Google or Bing search answers. I feel like they're too corporate sponsored.
Yeah, this is why I love Reddit, and I'm doubling down on my strategy for Reddit. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Oh man, this has been I'm looking forward to me to actually getting the clips from this show, because you have dropped some gems on this episode. This has turned out to be one of my favorite episodes, seriously.
Thank you so
Like,
much.
you dropped some real jewels here, and I'm excited to start to go check out your $9 program. But now it's time where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find you, social media, everything.
Yeah. So the best way for you to be able to find me is actually through my newsletter, Content Creators Club. You can go to creatorsclub.tinalopez.com. That is our one newsletter that we send out per week that gives you a collaboration opportunity, a blog article, a YouTube video, being to allow you to scale your content, traffic, and income as a creator. So I heard a lot of good things from the people who are on that newsletter, and I hope to see you there. And that's where you can find everything pretty much on the daily content generator, things like that. So I hope to see you in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is, like I said, this has actually turned out to be one of my favorite episodes, because
Thank you.
you was just dropping gems. And Fran, thank you for your participation as well. You've asked some great questions. You had some great comments. Greatly appreciate you stopping by and showing love. But this is why I like going live. It's like you asked, like, do people interact? And Fran came through.
Thank you, Fran. Appreciate that.
It was, she's awesome. Fran is awesome. We had a great conversation last week. She's a wonderful person. Uh, for y'all to connect. She's in a male dominated industry of freight trucking and all that stuff. And so yeah. But it was Fran, reach out to her, see how she can help you grow your brand and stuff like that. This is why I love doing my show.
Absolutely.
Is these moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. It was a great episode, truthfully.
You made it a great episode. I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, this turned out to be one of my favorite episodes, because you just dropped so many gems, like so many tools that people can just be like, oh man, thank you. So I'm looking forward to really clipping this and just sharing those clips.
Absolutely.
But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit and off the air. But thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Oh, what a wonderful show. Oh man, I loved it. This was I'm just smiling because it was just such a great show. Amazing show. Big shout out to Fran Formay for coming through and showing love and being a part of the show. You made this your show as well, Fran. Thank you for coming by. Shout out to my Real Wise fan, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you, baby. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.